Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, friends, first of all, I want to thank Igor and Susanna for inviting me here. It's a great pleasure to be in Dubrovnik. First time I was here was in 1988. This is the second time. Okay, but it's a great pleasure, and I have to say I love the colloquium format, and I have enjoyed yesterday and today so much I can't tell you. And I think I'm going to be a bit controversial in a way. I'm toying with myself because I don't know whether I like these things or I don't like these things. When I started looking into this matter, I was at Southampton University. My office was next door to the Lloyd's Register Tower. We were working together with engineers all the time in fantastic projects, some of which came to fruition, a lot of which were shelved. And so the engineers were all enthusiastic about this, and I think I got infected by that enthusiasm. And being here today has been a little bit of revival of that enthusiasm. And I think we're all right. I think all of us, everything which has been said is all right. But what we are missing is the time frame. I think the masters, we don't need the masters, but not today, not tomorrow. In 150 years' time, we'll have no masters. The IMO liability, oh, cool. I think I agree with Susanna. What they have done so far is very narrow and very conservative. Are you surprised? This is the IMO we're talking about, very conservative. But the IMO is under threat by these things, because my vision, what I think is going to happen in a long distant future, is the fact that we won't have maritime law at all, because these things will do everything by themselves. They will be connected to ports, which will be fully autonomous as well. They will be owned by a huge corporation, which probably have got a lot of people involved in it. They will also own trains. Everything will be so seamless, we won't need humans. But mark my words, this is going to happen, I think, but I won't be there. You probably won't be there. This is very far-fetched. How do I know? Let me go back to vineyards. I have inherited a few years ago a vineyard, and I have to say I find it very difficult to work with people. Okay, people are difficult to work with. They don't want to work as they used to. They all want to be super responsible, super important. We paid very well, surprise, surprise. So I went just a few months ago to, I took part to an experiment. There are now machines, there are robots who actually do your wine growing for you. They chop the things, they prune the things, they do all the things which we hire humans to do it. It was rubbish, okay? It was so bad. They just, I thought... They don't do the testing. Probably they've done the testing, okay? But the result has got nothing to do with what you expect by the most inexperienced of guys who you find on the main street. Not the trained people, okay? But this is not what I'm going to talk about to you today. I was very curious, and I looked into this all summer, really. I thought about it long and hard. What are we missing here, really? And I think who we're missing here is the money. What I'm looking at today is this. What is the commercial purpose of vessels? And the commercial purpose of vessels is not to be insured. And Regan is right, insurers will find a product, will cover anything you throw at them because this is their job and they know how to do it. The job of vessels is not making money to ship owners. That is a side effect. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. That's not the job of vessels. It's not the job of port. What's the job of it? The only reason for this whole thing, the only reason why we're all here in this room is for international trade. So my question here is twofold. Well, threefold. Do we want mass and we is not Filippo or this crowd, is does international trade need or want mass? And the way I'm going to answer this question is by doing something which I think is a mistake. I think it's a mistake we're all committing. We're just trying to regulate mass without them. We are in a way late, and in a way we're too early because we don't know what we're dealing with, really don't know what we're dealing with yet. I'm going to make the same mistake and say, if I was presented as a trader, as a oil company, that's what I do, my clients are oil companies. So what if I was an oil company and I was presented under a CIF contract, they would make a nomination of a vessel and I got a mass nominated. So I've never seen the name of this vessel. Let me check. Ooh, it's a level 3 or level 4. I don't care. I share the view that this level thing is a bit weird. So let's talk about a gray area between a level 2 3/4 and a level 4. Okay, every form of shapes. It comes to me, and I have to answer myself. I have to ask myself the question: do I want it or not? Do I need it or not? We're going to do this within the 20 minutes I have, I hope, is mass and their commercial purposes, sale of goods on CIF. I'm just taking CIF. There are many. I'm just taking CIF as an example. And the duty to ship cargo on board a ship. Okay. You don't use vessel. What the common law say, because that is the global standard for this sort of contracts. What does Incoterms say? Because that is the other global standard for this sort of contracts. And I'm going to draw some quick, I'm going to throw some quick questions to the crowd, to the audience. So this is the same picture everybody's showing, which already tells me we don't really know what the mass is going to look like because we're all going to say the same. You're going to use the same stuff. Okay. The true purpose of commercial shipping, I hope you all agree with me, is not for vessels to go around avoiding each other in collision scenario, is to carry cargo from one part of the world to the other. The reason why they carry cargo is to make money. Okay, that's it. There's no other possible interpretation of what they do. Containerized cargo, I have another picture coming, maybe here, maybe not, yes. Same picture as everybody else have got, again. And bulk cargo, which is the early thing. This is what they are designed to do. And my question is, are they suitable to carry cargo? Now, I'm asking the question in a different way. I repeat this. It's not about are they safe for carriage of cargo? Do we need a master to carry the cargo safely? Is this a carriage contract as the ones we are used to? That's not my question. I'm using them for the real purpose. Are they good enough for me to ship the cargo and get rid of the duty to properly shipping my cargo on board a vessel under a CIF contract? Why do I care? Because if I don't do so, there will be consequences. The first of which is I am not going to get paid. And if I'm not going to get paid, I'm not going to ship onto one of these vessels. And then, of course, this is the tailpiece. Are they better than what we got today? This is where I really think the nut will break. Just for those of you who may not be that familiar with CIF contracts, a CIF contract is a sale of goods where the duty to deliver is accomplished by shipping the cargo on board a vessel. There are very many different types of sale contracts on shipment terms. This is just one of those. Key feature of these things is that the risk on the cargo which is carried on board is transferred from the seller to the buyer at the moment of loading the cargo into the vessel across the ship's rail, says the law. And therefore, the buyer, okay, on the other side of the ocean, is buying the cargo with the risk of losing that cargo. In some scenarios, not always, depending on the contract, ownership on that cargo also shifts, and that shifts other liabilities like oil pollution, the risk of liability for oil pollution damage, as well as the liabilities for general average contribution. So that is a crucial moment. And in order for that to work, seller must ship the cargo onto a vessel according to some specific rules. Now, this is the way, in my book, I summarize that duty, and I'm going to read it out because you're going to find all this in the written paper, which I have promised Susanna. If the contract specifies that shipment is to be made in a particular class or type of vessel, the stipulation must be complied with. Okay, so if you say, I must ship on a mass vessel, well, only a mass vessel would do. These requirements may range from basic requirements as to the classification of the ship, the way to, all the way to the very complex and detailed technical specs on the vessel's engineering, loading and discharging gear, and cargo preservation equipment. In the old case of blah, blah, the requirement that the shipment should be by sailor or sailors amounted to a condition of the contract that the shipment should be on a sailing vessel only. So they're going to look at the contract and say, this is what you wanted, this is the way risk passes, this is the way you accomplish your duty to ship the vessel, to ship the cargo onto the vessel. Where there is no provision or a neutral term such as vessel is used, the seller satisfies this obligation by shipping on the kind of vessel by which similar goods are in practice shipped. The authorities of this statement are the two very old cases below. So this is English lawyers, they don't like to change things, okay? They like tradition, very solid. The older the case, the more authoritative it becomes. So these cases are very old, very authoritative, and that is what is expected. Now, so far, okay, right? Why? Because is mass a vessel? I'm not going to use a ship because I'm uncertain, but is it a vessel? Yes, this is a vessel in the English language. So mass is clearly a container which can carry stuff, and as such, it is a vessel. Contracts do contain more sophisticated requirements, and I have looked at many of those. These are just two. Okay, you'll find many more in the written bit. By first-class mechanically self-propelled vessels suitable for the carriage of the contract goods. Classed, remember what written just then, no class, no sailing. Classed in accordance with the Institute Classification Clause of the International Underwriting Association in force at the time of shipment. Mind you, this little bit is what we're all concerned at the moment. Okay, classification, technical rules, this is it. But there's a big word before it, suitable. And then the question becomes, is mass suitable to carry a particular cargo? It's got no master, for example. Ooh, well, that may make it unsuitable. That was from a GAFTA 100, a clause of very, very common commodity grain form. The next bit is from the BP GT&C 2015, the slightly amended edition, the one which is currently in use. Vessel, this is a definition, and look at the definition of vessel, means a tank ship or other vessel of any type whatsoever, which is wholly or mainly construed or adapted for the carriage of crude oil or product in bulk as cargo and shall, except otherwise provided, be deemed to include a barge. Well, this is a big shift from the general English law, which requires the vessel to be mechanically self-propelled. Here, there is no requirement of self-propulsion. A barge is good enough. So most definitely in this case, under the BP GT&C, a mass would in principle be fine. They can't say, well, it's in breach of 57.163. No way, it isn't. But look at the CIF. This is the general definition part of it's a very long and complex contract. Look at the CIF bit of it. It's about the nomination of a vessel, and it tackles with the question which vessel should be nominated or what kind of ship should be nominated. It talks about, oil major compliance and all that sort of stuff. All the technical stuff has to be there, to be in class, has to be all the lovely flags in order, but notwithstanding anything to the contrary, notwithstanding it ticks all of the above boxes, and believe you me, there are many. So notwithstanding anything to the contrary expressed or implied elsewhere, the buyer shall have the right to refuse on any reasonable ground to accept any vessel named pursuant to the above sections. And the buyer shall not be liable for any loss or damage, direct or indirect, if the seller may suffer as a result of the buyer exercising such rights. So, reasonable grounds. Upstairs, suitable. The reader knows I have a thing with reasonable, right? Because reasonable means a lot, it means very little. So the question is, do maths fulfill these requirements? Apparently so, but I have been in the Coast Guard for a year, a long time ago, and I can tell you, living on board a vessel isn't as romantic as it looks like. I have been several times at refineries sorting out issues which are very real, very concrete, looking at the hose being connected. And sometimes they just don't fit. So what do? You get a guy who goes around, Scrabble, and makes a temporary fit, and off you go. You got an expert who comes out, oh yeah, that's will go, I'm going to sign it, fingers crossed, and then the business goes on. If that wasn't possible, if that wasn't done, if there wasn't such a bending ability, guys, a lot of business wouldn't happen. A lot of delays, a lot of issues with suppliers. Who prepares the vessel for loading if there is nobody or a skeleton crew? Don't make the mistake to think that these are going to be crew members. These are going to be computer engineers. Okay? Even the master in 30 years' time will be a computer engineer. He's not somebody who's going to sniff the air and say it's going to rain. That kind of master is maybe already gone. Who helps with connecting, disconnecting hoses? Very practical, pragmatic stuff. Who's going to lubricate the hatches? Okay, that is not made up. That happens all the time. Who cleans from salt, spills, bird drops? Bird drops, guys, are a no-no for any food-carrying vessel. Even grains, you need to clean that stuff up before inspectors come on board. And you know how many seagulls are around here when you wait for a week? So who's going to go? We have cleaners going on board from ashore. Is it realistic? Will there be an extra insurance premium to pay? Remember, I'm on the side of those who have to ship. And I'm thinking, I'm getting a mass here. So I need to help the ship. I have to help the ship with mooring. I have to help the ship by doing all these little things. Should I send my cleaners to clean, the salt and the rubbish on board the vessel? Would the ship owner be happy for these people from the charterer's side to come on board and play and toy with the machine? Not sure. What about no master on board? Sorry, I wrote this before I heard it. That would have been a bit different. Who oversees cargo operation with an independent eye? You're forgetting that there are other things. The master is in charge of the shipping side. And I agree with you, in the far-fetched future, we might just have an hologram who comes up with a lovely bearded man with a pipe saying, oh, this is what I think is right. And that is an AI unit. Fine. The AI unit doesn't have eyes, doesn't have nose to smell the mold in the grain. So who sees the cargo operation with the independent eye? Why independent? It's not independent. He's on the side of the owner. But as far as I am concerned, the seller, and as far as my buyer, Agatha, is concerned, well, hold on a minute. That guy is independent because he hates us both equally, right? Who looks, feels the apparent condition of the cargo. We do need that picture. And we're going to need that picture forever. This is not something which is going away. We need to know what has been shipped. And who's going to tell me? An independent inspector who works solely with the operator of the terminal? In my experience, that is not accepted. Not acceptable, not accepted.
5 minutes.
Who resolves key meetings? Usually it's the master by punching the thing and or opening a bottle of whiskey and offering a whiskey to everybody and trying to get to meet the minds. Now, I've been in arbitrations in person and I've been in arbitrations through web, whatever it is, link. It's a very different feeling. Okay, you don't get the same satisfactory outcome as you do in person when it takes aside people, you have a word and you smoothen things up. We do need that for the foreseeable future. Who issues bill of lading to be considered proper receipt? Well, you might say, well, the bill of lading may be issued from Singapore, but the guy was not there to see, to oversee. There are sensors, and sensors are tricky. My car's rear view sensors don't always work. Sometimes I bump into my father-in-law car. He doesn't need to know. It is, moreover, guys, there is another thing which I find very deep into the common law. Delivery to the carrier does kind of have a feeling of entrusting somebody to look after the cargo. And I'm afraid it is somebody. I mean, there is a concept of bailment, hiding into carriage, hiding into taking cargo around, that you do need to think about when you're entrusting stuff to a floating warehouse who's completely unmanned and in many ways unsecured. The Incoterms, the only big difference is, again, a vessel of the type normally used for the transport. There's going to be a big difficulty, a big gap to fill at the beginning because the first vessel will simply not comply with the usual thing. But you know, Incoterms can be massaged, and a new edition is due in 5 years. We can probably amend it. But do we want to? Oh, that's another one, which I find. My last thought, before I go to my conclusions, I'm afraid, right, are these. Just imagine for a minute that this mess happened and a mass was involved. I was involved in the Costa Concordia, and I remember within 6 hours from the accident, the master was blamed. That's the main function of the master. Okay, take the blame. The master is at fault. Oh, we got all the limitation, all that stuff. It's fine. Imagine this was a mass. You would have such a strong campaign against mass, it would take years to recover. With the master, oh, the master was negligent. Oh, there was a bit of a glitch with the engine stuff. Oh, we don't know what happened. It doesn't matter. Shipping goes ahead. And this was a mass. They're all the same. They're just robots. And we hate robots already without them doing any such damage. Conclusions. Commercial ships are there to make money to traders. Okay, we really need to accept this. It took me years, but here I am. In order to be financed, in order to put money into this, they need to be safe. And I agree with Eric, either they are safe or they're not. They need to be safe for what they are. They need to be efficient in every possible way. And we're all focused on the liability of human errors and blah, blah, blah. There will be different errors. There will be, other problems, I'm sure. But also, guys, they need to be practical. If they're not practical, they're like overcraft. Okay. We're going to forget about those before we know it. None of this can be achieved through regulation alone. And we need vision. We need cultural change. We need a lot of inputs, which are not going to come just from the IMO sitting in their headquarters or the CMI, although I think the CMI is doing fantastic work on this, or on any other, the European Commission, God forbids. Ship owners, do they really want to invest billions en masse? I have never met anyone who told me so. They think this is a good thing to play with. It's nice, but is it for 2050 beyond? And if they did, would traders see any solid reason? I think all of these contracts need to be changed, but I don't think that is the problem. The problem is it practical? And I don't think it is at the moment or for the foreseeable future. And last, even if they did, even if the trade liked it, it should be, we're all talking about the changes in international maritime. Yeah? There is a lot of change coming in international trade law as well. And again, if you look at 150, 200 years from now, I think the entire maritime law system is under great threat. There's no reason why I am insured for my automated lawnmower up to 10 million euros, whereas a boat or a vessel can limited liability. The European Commission is looking at this, has been looking at this for decades, and they die to get rid of this difference, okay? And once a car needs insurance if it is driven by a robot, and a vessel needs insurance if it is driven by a robot, there's absolutely no difference between the same robot driving a different mode of transport. We might run the risk of getting rid of all these conventions for a great liability thing, which is going to be unlimited and all-encompassing. And on that bombshell, thank you very much.